to Throwback Thursday. Let's get started. The first person I wanted to look at is James Meredith. Now, James was actually born on this day, June 25th, back in 1933, and he was born in Mississippi in America. And he ended up becoming a civil rights activist. And many times I've talked about standing on the shoulders of giants, and James is an example of someone who absolutely is a giant because he started something huge. And that is, he was basically the first African-American student admitted to the University of Mississippi on the 1st of October back in 1962. So what happened was he applied to be a student and he was accepted. But then the university found out that he was black and they actually said, no, you can't come. And so he filed a lawsuit and that was denied, that had no luck. So then he filed with the US Supreme Court, which is basically the highest law in the land, and he won the right to be admitted to that university. So on the day that he went to register, there were riots. The outcry was just huge because the people of Mississippi did not want Black people attending university. So what was happening is they were being denied their education. The Attorney General at the time, who was Robert Kennedy, and the President at the time, John F. Kennedy, they made sure that they sent, I think it's something like 500 US Marshals, as well as military police troops from the Mississippi National Guard. They were sent to the university to protect James on his first day at uni. And that's one of the photos that we've got here as well. So that's just a huge thing. By doing that, by attending the university, he opened the doors, opened the gates for others to follow. And it's people like him, and there are many others that we'll look at as they pop up throughout history, throughout the year, who have made it possible for things like that to be accessible to everyone, which they should be anyway and should have been from the very beginning. The next person I would like to look at is a slightly lighter one, and this one is Prince. Prince was a musician, and his name is actually Prince. His full name was Prince Rogers Nelson, and he was born back in 1958, but it was on this day, June 25, where he released probably one of his most famous albums, which was Purple Rain. I grew up with Prince's music, and he wasn't just a musician, he was also a record producer, a dancer, an actor, and a filmmaker. And he's actually regarded as one of the greatest musicians of his generation. He was an incredibly gifted guitar player, considered a virtuoso on the guitar, and is very well known. And he was quite a different type of artist as well. What I found out about Prince, which I wasn't 100% sure of, is he's actually done a lot of songwriting that we might not know about. So two of my favourite songs as I was growing up, one of them is Manic Monday, sung by the Bangles, and the other is Nothing Compares to You, sung by Sinead O'Connor, were both written by Prince. So I think sometimes in music, when we hear a song, we forget that often, not always, but often writers are not mentioned or they're not acknowledged. So I thought that was really interesting. Or if they are acknowledged as a listener, we don't necessarily know that it's them. But yeah, so it was a very sad day a couple of years ago in 2016 when Prince died. But yeah, this is the day that one of his most famous records, Purple Rain, was released. Also on this day, June 25th, way back in 1903, so a good long time ago, over 100 years ago, George Orwell was born. George Orwell was a British author, and he was born in British India. And what that means is that was when India was still, I suppose, occupied. The British were still there before India had independence. And George also died quite young. He died when he died very young. from tuberculosis, really sadly. He was only 46, but he had an incredible influence on literature at the time. And two of his novels, 1984 is the name of one of them, and Animal Farm is the other one. Now, guys, adults who are listening, you've most likely read one, if not both of those books. Kids, you will no doubt read one, if not both, in high school. The one I wanted to highlight today is Animal Farm, because I think the quote that is well known from that book really says it all. And it's the quote that is, "All animals are created equal, but some animals are more equal than others." And I just want to leave you with that. That's all I'm giving you, because I want you to have a think about that and have a think about what that might mean. And if you think you know what that might mean, I'd love you to get in touch with me and tell me. I'd love your interpretation of that. Finally, on this day, on 25th of June, in 1967, the first global satellite television program called Our World was broadcast. So what that means is there were 19 countries represented, and they were featured 19 acts, so a different act from each country. And it was seen, from what I can tell, it was seen by something like 400 to 700 million people around the globe watched the broadcast. Went for 2.5 hours, and it was this far-reaching thing. And today, it's best known for the fact that the Beatles played. They were the British representatives, and at the end they played the song "All You Need Is Love." I'd love to play that for you now. Copyright says I can't, so I want you to go and Google it, YouTube it. All you need is love, and I think that's what we all need right now. So go and have a listen and enjoy, and hopefully I'll have some feedback to share with you tomorrow. Okay, bye.